Hello everybody, it's Monster Forge again, and in the beginning there was PHEYDEN. Well, not this PHEYDEN in particular. This is my first Glyos figure. Glyos is a toy line, the Glyos system is a toy line made by a friend of mine named Matt Dowdy. And Matt he's kind of like Santa Claus to all of us toy nerds. Because he created a property, a toy line, just right out of his own home initially, and then it grew into bigger things. But I have loved these figures for years. I didn't get in on the ground floor of the Glyos System series. I came in a little bit after that, and the first figure that I ever picked up was this figure, and this is Reverse PHEYDEN. Now, the colors that are on him, you can see he's a little, he's been riding around in pockets and bags and stuff like that with me for years and years and years. I carry him a lot of places. He's one of my favorite toys I own. But the original PHEYDEN was, if you can imagine these colors, the gray and the light kind of baby blue, reversed, where the gray parts were blue and the blue parts were gray. That was what the original PHEYDEN looked like. But this was my first PHEYDEN, and he is my most important PHEYDEN, because most of the guys that collect Glyos toys, they have like a ground floor that they came in, you know, or like ground zero where they first started their collections. There are, I don't know if it's hundreds or thousands of these different colors and designs over the years, but it's one of those things where Matt created these characters and he created these toys, and he kind of left a lot of things open-ended so that you could really, you know, like toys back when I was a kid, back in the 70s and the early 80s, not all of them had like a defined story. It was sort of like you had the toys and you kind of had a choice in what they were. Anyway, Matt kind of did that. Like, Matt's got an idea for his stories, like his characters and all, and he's revealed some of it over the years, but a lot of it is still open-ended. But the thing is, this toy line took off like crazy, and it's not a toy line that you'll find in stores. It's you know, unless it's like some kind of really specialty type store. Most of the time you have to get the Glyos figures from Matt's web store. If it's Onell Design is the name of the company that he started, and the Glyos figures, let me check real quick. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, if you go to www.onelldesign, which is DESIGN.com, which I'll put a link to it down below in the comments. But that's where you'll find these figures, and most of the time when you go there, everything's sold out, because these things sell out pretty quick because they're just that darn good that people collect them. People love them. But I'm not really here to talk about this figure. I'm not here so much to talk about the main Glyos line, although that does need to be talked about. As you can see, they do all kind of different colors of the Glyos figures and different designs. Like, this is a Scar PHEYDEN, and you can see he's got a phase blaster on his arm. That's what that's called. That's one cool thing about Glyos figures, is that they have a pop and play kind of system to them, where they all have these same kind of little pegs and the peg holes that match up, so you can build all kind of stuff. And also you can build stuff, and it allows you to customize stuff, and you can see the fits are pretty snug. Like, he has a kind of a trademark system there with that peg, but you can pop off any one of the joints anywhere on these guys, and you can add weapons, you can add different hands, different parts. If you go to the blog that Matt has on the Onell Design website, you can see creations that he's made over the years that are just staggering. But they're really beautiful figures. They feel really good in your hand. They're made out of solid PVC. And that's a whole thing. I would recommend, if you really want to have a good like intro to the Glyos system, check out the Craftsman's video about Glyos. It's a really good opener to the toy system and everything like that. I'll put a link to that in the comments below too. But this is as close as I have to the original PHEYDEN. PHEYDEN is this character. He's like one of the main characters in the Glyos system storyline. But just a few years ago, the Four Horsemen, they're a toy design group, sculptors and creators that have made their own type of toys. They started off with the Mythic Legion toys, which were like medieval fantasy type characters. And then they went into the Cosmic Legions, which are the more science fiction space stuff. And there's even like a crossover between the two different lines in a way. One character in particular that kind of goes between the fantasy setting and the science fiction setting, if I've got that right. They also have kind of a story that exists that they're telling bits and pieces of it as time goes on. But this is one of the characters from the line, and this guy, if you recognize some of the colors, he's based on the concept of like Manny Faces from Masters of the Universe. He has, you know, like the orange weapon, orange and blue, and sort of a chartreuse. I think it's chartreuse. It's a pinkish purple. I think that is called chartreuse, isn't it? Or is that fuchsia? Oh, whatever. It's this color right here, with some silver elements. And this character came with a lot of parts, like different heads and all, so you could swap personalities. But not really talking about him, just kind of introducing what this toy line is and who created it. Is the Four Horsemen. And they're a bunch of different guys that sculpt and draw and create, and they're just, all of them are really good guys. They make good quality products, and I really do like their toys. I like just the idea, and also just like with Matt's, you know, Glyos figures, their figures come apart and you can pop the limbs off of them. I'm not going to do it right now because I don't want to screw up any of the joints. It's always suggested whenever you change parts on these guys that you kind of heat up the joints with like a hair dryer so that they pop out easier and you don't have any damage. They even, in each package, they have a little insert that tells you, you know, you should do that. But certain joints on these figures, like anywhere there's a swivel, you know, that's not a hinge, but it's a swivel, those parts will come out. But it's something to be done carefully. But one of the easy things to do is you can pop the heads off, and they all have a universal ball joint there. And you can see here, there's a universal peg system for different parts. They have different peg sizes, unlike the Glyos where everything is the same peg size. There are different types of pegs that go with these guys, and just giving you a look there. But once again, I'm not focusing on this guy. There's another figure that I just got, and it ties into both the Glyos System series and Cosmic Legions, Mythic Legions, the Four Horsemen's toy designs. And that is the new Infinite Legions line. And what we have here, this is just the package. I've already opened it and taken it out. I've had it for, I don't know, maybe a week now, and I can't put the toy down. It's one of my favorite toys I think I've ever owned, but it's just the regular PHEYDEN. It's Space Traveler PHEYDEN, and this is a drawing. I think Nate did this one. Yeah, Matt Dowdy Mark Burdett and Nate. Yeah, Nate Bear. I guess I'm pronouncing Nate's name correctly. I've only ever known him, you know, online. He used to be a part of the October Toys forum that a lot of us guys were on. But you can see they always put the credits of who worked on this stuff. The package itself, Nate did the drawing of PHEYDEN here. I know Matt did this design work in the packaging. That's like one of his trademark things, is he does all this really cool technical stuff. I'm not sure what Mark did, Mark Burdett. He usually works with some of the design stuff with Onell Design, but he's listed in the package design and illustration. He's a great artist in his own right. But I do know that Nate did this. Matt designed the sort of techno-organic stuff. And maybe it was Mark that put the design together, because it's listed as design. Not sure, but anyway, this whole list of people listed here, every one of them is talented like crazy. And I would invite everybody to take a look at the Four Horsemen Studios. I'll put a link to them down below. I got a lot of links I got to put in the comments below. But check out their work. They might have a link to, yeah, here we go. This is everybody that's linked here. Onell Design, sourcehorseman.com, and storehorseman.com. Source Horseman talks about the products and what's coming and all that good stuff. And Store Horseman is where you can purchase stuff. Now, right now, as far as I know, PHEYDEN isn't available in this current form, because this was that's a cool, like, Matt's version of the Four Horsemen logo, which that's the Four Horsemen logo regularly, and that's Matt's sort of glossy version of it. But anyway, this figure was a pre-order figure. And I'm sure, like most of the time when they have a pre-order, they'll make other versions of the figure available down the line, either for pre-order or for just regular release. But their figures are high-quality figures. And all of that out the way, you know, we're only 12 minutes into the video, and here's the critter of the hour, Mr. PHEYDEN himself, Space Traveler PHEYDEN. And he comes this way in the package. He has his phase blaster. Was it a phase blaster? Yeah, I want to say it was phase blaster. It's been a while since I went into the lore. I mostly just messed with the figures, but yeah, I think it was a phase blaster. But he comes with that piece, and he also comes with he comes with a separate wrist gauntlet, which is the way I usually keep it, because I've always, like with my figures, my Glyos figures, I always like some of them have the phase arm blasters, but I like to give them guns, because to me, these are like the Star Wars figures of this era, and Star Wars figures always has guns and lightsabers and such, so I like giving them guns. But this PHEYDEN, the Infinite Legions PHEYDEN, he comes with the phase arm mounted on him, and this thing actually comes apart. I'm gonna go ahead and take this off. They have like a pop and joint system with them, and the way I usually keep him is just hold on, let me pop this back on. But I like to keep him with the other hand, because I just like the symmetry of that. And it just looks good. They've really done a good job. Now, here's what's crazy. This big chunky boy right here is based on the same body. Like, you can see some of the design stuff are the same. But what they do is, and the Four Horsemen are really good doing this. And a lot of people make a big stink about them doing this, but I think it's great. Like, somebody that grew up with Masters of the Universe, Masters of the Universe reused a lot of parts. but they did it in creative ways, and that's what they've done here. It's the same base body underneath all of this, but there's new parts to it, like these big shoulder pads, this big chest piece, the belt, which is, you know, another trademark of the Glyos figures, is they have that cool little belt thing around them. What's he keeping those pockets? But the new forearms, these new leg parts, and the big giant feet, which are probably one of my favorite parts about this, because this figure, it's really hard to get him to fall over because the feet are like really chunky. They're big, and he has like a big platform built under him. But he's just a beautiful figure, and just give you a turnaround on it. He looks so cool, and like those little piston things on the back of the calves and all, so cool. And if I'm not mistaken, he's the first, unless there's something, you know, I'm not a complete Four Horsemen collector. I've only got a few figures. I got this guy and a few others, but I think he's the first one that actually has like a toe joint, and that's really cool. And a lot of times I don't care for a toe joint on a figure because it doesn't usually do much to hold him up. But this guy, because the feet are so big and so chunky, you know, you can actually use the toe joint to hold him in certain poses and stuff like that. And that's really cool. But he's a cool figure. Really like him. The design's so good. The paint's so good. Like all of the little lines are panel lined. He's got shading in places. And the paint has this sort of pearlized metallic sheen to it that just looks so good under different light. He's so good, such a good looking figure. I'm not going to say anything bad about this figure because I haven't found anything I don't like about it. You'll just hear me gushing during this video. So if you don't like that, you can watch another video. But if you do, you know, that's one thing I've been noticing a lot of times. I've been looking on YouTube, and everybody that does videos is super salty about everything. Like, I understand maybe a figure doesn't come up to your expectations, but it's like, there's particular guys that I go through their channels, particularly the Transformers guys. I go through their channels and it's just, and it's like, I'm sorry that you feel bad about the toys that are coming out, but I really enjoy a lot of the Transformers I have. And, you know, I understand being critical where it's important, but it's like, I just get to where I quit watching a channel because all I ever hear is gripe. Which, you know, if that's the case, if you're going and buying a particular toy line and you get, like, very dissatisfied with it, I would want to collect something else. But I don't know. I mean, I believe people should be able to say whatever they want. It's just my personal take on that. And, you know, I want to be happy. There's things that I don't like about stuff, but, you know, whatever. Off my soapbox. Anyway, I said soapbox instead of soapbox. Awful reviewer. But yeah, put him to the side and focus on the man of the hour here, PHEYDEN. Now this is the way he comes, you know, besides having the phase blaster. And the phase blaster, what's really cool about this is it actually comes apart. There's different pieces to it. I don't know if it's supposed to come apart, but mine definitely came apart. And there's different parts to it in and of itself. Like there's this sort of reticule thing here. It's like a lens, and that's really cool because most of the phase arms, if you ever look at them, the phase arms are just kind of open on the end. And so you could have that, you know, you could certainly put this together that way if you want to, and just have it with the open end. And, you know, if you're into a customizer or whatever, you could Dremel out that to a wider hole. But it's nice that it has this little reticule thing, like the lens in there, because that's really a cool touch. But it's really nice. Like, everything about this, there was a lot of thought put into it. There's a video on YouTube right now. I think it's on the Four Horsemen's YouTube channel. And it goes into the development of this figure and how everything originated with this head, which is another head that comes with this PHEYDEN figure. And it's the dead PHEYDEN or undead PHEYDEN. I think it's dead PHEYDEN. But they sculpted, the Four Horsemen sculpted this head originally and brought it to Matt at a convention they were all at. And Matt just fell in love with the idea. He had, like he said, he had never really thought about doing like a fossilized PHEYDEN, oh, probably help if I focus on that, PHEYDEN skull. And this thing just looks flipping awesome. It's got all the little, you know, fissures and the sutures in the skull. It's a cool sculpt, and it's painted really well. And that was the original design. They did one for him. And if you didn't know it, the Four Horsemen's toy empire really originally was based around the Glyos fit function, like the joints and stuff like that. And originally, the mythic legions, all the different legions figures were going to be smaller. And as it came about, they wanted to be able to do more detail and all, so they made them bigger. And the Glyos joints weren't going to work for a bigger figure like that. And so they went with a different system. But they've always incorporated the fit function of Glyos stuff into the mythic and cosmic legions. Like, for example, the wrist hole that's on this cosmic legions figure, if you take a Glyos figure's head, it actually fits that hole. So, you know, you could have this guy having a conversation with a PHEYDEN through his wrist. And there's other holes on the figure that it fits as well, like the holes in the belt. And maybe, I've never tried to see if it fits this one. Very snugly, I won't put it in there all the way because it might mess up that joint. But I know that nope, not quite. The holes on the belt, which these pins are in, I know they'll fit in there. But anyway, they've always had a relationship with the Glyos universe. So it was just natural that we eventually would get a PHEYDEN in the Horseman stuff, the Four Horsemen stuff. And I'm so glad to have it. It's something I've wanted forever, to have a figure this size. I talked to Matt years and years ago, and I was like, man, it'd be so awesome if we had like a really good, you know, 1/12 scale, like Glyos figure that was really well articulated and everything and detailed. And he didn't really say much about it, but more than likely they were already in the works on this stuff at that point when I mentioned that. So might have been why he didn't mention anything about it. He just was like, yeah, that's a cool idea. So what all does this figure come with? A lot of stuff, actually. He comes with the dead PHEYDEN head that I showed earlier. He comes with a Sarvos helmeted design. Really well detailed and really looks nice. And it's a perfect match for that body. Sarvos is kind of like an armored character in the Glyos system stuff. He also comes with the Scar PHEYDEN, which is one of my favorite designs, and it's so well done here. Let me see if I can get some light on this so you can see it better. A lot of cool design, a lot of cool sculpting inside the breaks in the helmet. Kind of let you see the fleshy stuff underneath, and that's really cool. And the scarf Phaydon always had like one eye, with a pupil, and the other one is kind of a dead eye. And they also have the same, like scar on the back of the head. So it's a really good interpretation of the original figures. You get, of course, the phase arm blaster. You get a scarf, or like a cowl type unit. And the significance of that is the original Glyos figures, Matt, at one point he had cloth scarves with some of the custom figures that he did, because he used to have like a line of customs that he did called the Custom Core. And then eventually he made the little scarf that was available in plastic that came with some of the figures, or it was like an extra part or whatever. But I always thought that was a really cool look, that he would have that that face mask thing. And he has one here too. If you take off, Phaydon's head, and here's another thing too. I'll go ahead and mention this because it'll just be in the articulation part. But this, as far as I know, I don't have any of the Four Horsemen's figures that have that extra hinge joint there. That may be something new just for this figure, because I know that the older Cosmic Legions figures do not have a hinge right there. And to show you this, that it is a universal joint. You can put any of the Cosmic Legion heads on, and the Mythic Legions too, heads on Phaydon here. But anyway, there's a little peg hole right here and a little peg right there that you just slip that on, and it just kind of holds it in place by pressure. And you can take the Phaydon head and put it in there, and he has the scarf now. It doesn't really turn with him, but you can turn his head inside of it. And it's more like a collar, I guess. We've always called it scarves in the Glyos communities and all, but I guess it's more like a collar. The scarf thing on the smaller figures, it sort of turns with the head. It can't turn a whole lot, but the head doesn't really turn without it, so it's more like a scarf. But with this one, it's more like a high collar, and it's a really cool look. I dig it a lot. One thing too that he comes with is there is a smaller collar piece that there are some characters in the old Glyos system, the smaller figures, that had like a collar piece that kind of helped bulk out the neck. And I always put that on mine because it just looks good when he's not wearing the scarf. Kind of bulks out his neck a little bit. Let's see what else. He comes with 1, 2, 3, 4 extra hands. He has like sort of the open hand, and this is a reference to the way the original Phaydon and Glyos figures had the open hand, kind of gesturing hand. I call it the pew pew hand because he's shooting out space lasers or something. Pew, 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 pew. And he comes with a gripping hand for, like swords or whatever thing he could have in there, a gripping hand. And he also comes with a, well, what I have on him right now are the trigger hands. And they're really nice. I just like the gesture in that sculpt. And they have a joint that goes up and down like this, which is good for both guns and swords. So I keep these on him most of the time. The other ones, like the gesturing hands, they have you can tell I haven't really used this one a whole lot, but I have used this one. It has a hinge that goes, focus. It has a hinge that goes up and down, so you can kind of pose his hands like this. And the grasping hands are the same way. The hand goes up and down. Yeah. One thing about the Four Horsemen figures, because they're so well painted, a lot of times the paint will get into the joint, and that's why you're encouraged to use like a hairdryer to kind of heat that up, and it'll break the paint in the joint. But one good thing about the paint in the joint is you get a tight joint, so that's something I've never had a problem with any of their figures. And then underneath, let's see, is that all? Well, he does come with some of these switch pins, which these are little pins that they fit in that particular size hole that's in some of the figures. And figures that have like belts, like this guy, you can put the pins in there, and then the weapons, because several of the weapons will have a little hole, you can put that. It's always hard to do this stuff when you're looking through a camera lens, but you can use that to hold his weapons and stuff. And sometimes what I do, because I am a toy customizer, I will make weapons for my figures and modify weapons from other things. This is from a knockoff Optimus Prime figure. I just thought it was a really cool kind of teched out looking sword, but I dremeled a hole that fits that peg so he can have his sword and his gun on his belt. Now, the PHEYDEN doesn't have any holes for the switch pins on his belt because it's a particular type of design for that. But I suppose you could put a peg right here, and, you know, if you want to, come here, you could peg his gun right there. You could, I don't know, it's something you can do. But he comes with a couple of those. Underneath this chest piece, there's a hole in the chest, and most of the figures that use this body here, this is the buck for most of the Cosmic Legions figures, you have a little part that will groove in there, and this one kind of grooves in and slides out easily. And the other guy that I have over there, his part will fit in that right there. So if you want to have him with just that part in there, you can, or whatever. It's just something that kind of comes standard with most of those guys with that body buck, but PHEYDEN doesn't really have to use that or anything. He looks good with his armor on. Is that everything? Yeah, I think that's all the parts that he came with. I'm just showing you, this is how he looks with the Sarvos head, and that looks really good. He has sort of a stormtrooper look to him. I always thought Sarvos looked like a stormtrooper. And you can also have the dead PHEYDEN head if you want, kind of like a zombie PHEYDEN, you know, that kind of thing. Or you can put the Scar head on him. And sometimes I like to have him displayed with the Scar head. Most of the time, though, because I just, the regular PHEYDEN has always been my, you know, one of my favorite toys. And I will say that this one looks really, really good with the, come on, buddy. Looks really good with the scarf. Just because it's he's sort of peeking out, you know, with this scarred up head. You can see it from all angles. But like I said, my favorite way to have him is just the regular PHEYDEN head, because that's mainly what I wanted. All the extra stuff to me is just bonus goodies. But that's the Infinite Legions Space Traveler PHEYDEN. And Infinite Legions is their latest branch off from, you know, just the Mythic and then Cosmic and now Infinite. And, well, they also do Figura Obscura. And that's a whole different thing. That's like kind of fantasy type, or like literary characters, or historical characters, or, you know, mythological characters like that. But Infinite Legion is them teaming up with different creators to bring creator-owned characters into this toy line, which I think is a fantastic idea. But you know, I'm so happy that their first one was really a work of love with one of their favorite people. And most of the guys in the independent toy scene, Matt's kind of looked at as a hero. Oh, there's one part that I did forget, and it's this guy. It's a head. It's a clear head of an alien that is actually an alien from Cosmic Legions. And he just happens to be a little head that you can, remember a minute ago I was saying you could put the head on the arm of the character, and it's like a hologram that he's talking to. But the cool thing about this is, like I said, this alien species is an alien that's in Cosmic Legions, but now you can have the head, which is compatible with the Glyos figure, and you can have him as a Glyos character. I am translucent pink alien head man. And likewise, with Glyos figures, if you have any of them that are kind of clear or whatever, you can use them as holograms. So he can be talking to Glyos characters. What's up, buddy? I'm okay, how are you? You know, stuff like that. But now, getting down to the physical nature of this figure and articulation. He has a ball joint, ball and socket joint at the head for a lot of range. Plus, he has that neck that tips forward and tips back, so you can get a whole lot of range of looks from this guy. Then he has a swivel at the base of the neck. These shoulders are on swivels as well, and the main thing for that is a lot of the armor, like shoulder armor and sometimes over the shoulder armor and stuff like that, for Mythic Legion and Cosmic Legions figures, they are pegged into peg holes in the back. So you can swap out his shoulder armor with other figures that have the same type of shoulder armor. My other guy doesn't have that. He has this over the shoulder set, but this will fit on this figure. And I've already seen on Instagram and a few other places on Facebook where people are taking this figure and using Cosmic Legions figures to kind of make new aliens. And it's real exciting seeing what people are now doing with now having the Glyos stuff in there. It's a lot of fun. But anyway, these shoulder pads come up on this swivel, and he has like a pin and peg joint or a disc joint in the shoulder, so you can get his shoulders out this far. He also, it rotates around, completely around, but that shoulder armor does get in the way. And you can use the shoulders just fine. It just kind of lifts up the shoulder pad a bit, and you put it down, you can pop it right back in place. It still looks great. He has a swivel. Well, he's got several swivels, but he has a swivel at the elbow that goes completely around. And then he has a hinge, and then the gauntlet itself swivels around the actual forearm there. And then, of course, like I said, you have a joint up and down, like a hinge at the wrist and a swivel as well. He has a ball joint with a lot of range. You can see the ball joint in there, a lot of range at the waist. So he can do just about anything. He can bend just about in half, bend back. It's great. And then he has hinges at the hips, which are also like a swivel for forward and back. So you can kick his leg back about this far. He has a butt flap. Oh, well, popped off another piece that I didn't know was a separate piece. Where did it go? Don't want to lose that. Oh, here we go. So we got a butt plate. I didn't know pops off, but I do. And that's a ball joint in there. That's nice. So it does kind of get out of the way if you need it to. That's good to know. You never know what you're going to find. But anyway, the hip goes back this far. If you take that butt flap off, you can get his leg back even further. And forward, he has a plate here. Is this one? This one's pegged in as well. Not a ball peg, but it's like a sort of a tab. I don't know if you can see that or not. Kind of a... oh, there you go. Kind of a tab that goes in there like that. And these parts aren't glued in. They're snapped in. They have like a little ridge on it. Oh, come on, Boomer. There we go. And his legs go out to the side that far. He has a hinge at the knee and a swivel at the top of the calf. He has a hinge for forward and back, and plus it has a swivel there. The whole thing turns, so it's really like a big pin and disc joint there. So it goes up, it goes down, it turns at the ankle, at the foot, and it turns at the ankle too. So you can spin it around. And like I said before, you've got a separate toe joint that really gives you all together a lot of articulation. And it's just a really nice figure. And I absolutely love it. Like I said, it's been hard for me to put it down ever since I got it. And I just really love it. I love his chunky proportions. I love the fact that he's a character that I really like a lot. And that he matches up with the designs that Matt created originally. This is a more kind of souped up version, and it fits more in with the Mythic and Cosmic Legions, but still, it's a really cool figure. And being that I like putting guns in critters' hands, I took an old Manny Faces gun, because I've always liked this gun. It's one of my favorite Masters of the Universe guns. And I painted it to match PHEYDEN. And so I wanted to give him a blaster, and he has one. And that makes me all kind of flavors of happy to have a blaster that matches his the look of him, and it's a Manny Faces blaster, which is my favorite. And I made him a sword, a lightsaber type thing. And I used, like this actually comes out, but I don't want to stress it any. I used a Gundam blade. I used a piece from a Playmobil figure. And I used this from the Weaponeers of Munka. It was an old Glyos compatible toy line that I think they still are making them. Was it Fresh Monkey Fiction or something? I cannot remember the name of the guys that did it, what their company was. But they did a bunch of these weapon sets that were compatible with Glyos and also with, well, at the time it was the Masters of the Universe Classics line, which also was a toy line that the Four Horsemen designed and sculpted. But these figures fit that hand perfectly, and they just so happen to fit this hand perfectly. So I have a blade and a gun for my Infinite Legions Space Traveler PHEYDEN figure, and just kind of give you a size of these guys. Like I showed before him with Cosmic Legions figure that doesn't have a head right now, which, you know, to get a size comparison, you probably want a head. Yeah, so he's actually larger, even though it has the same body underneath, because of the legs and the arms and shoulders and chest and all. It makes him look so much bigger. This is the size of him with, put this here. This is the size of him with just a regular Marvel Legends like human size figure. So you see he kind of towers over a human, which if you looked at the little books that Matt made back in the day when he was first developing the Glyos stuff, the normal human-sized aliens in those books, PHEYDEN was way bigger than them. So that matches up. That's actually, to me, that's in scale right there. So a human compared to PHEYDEN is probably that size. There were two characters, Recklin and Aves, were in those little books that Matt made, and they were great. If you can ever get a hold of any of those little books that had the stories in it, and it had a lot of drawings from Matt, and it also had a lot of these custom figures that he had made, and he had cast them in resin or epoxy putty or something like that. But they're great books. But anyway, that was, to me, that's kind of the size of a human to PHEYDEN, because I mean, PHEYDEN's not human; he's an alien. And another thing, you know, PHEYDEN is a space traveler, which makes him kind of cosmic, you know. So I figured, why not have a cosmic enforcer to go along with him? And this is the Zodak from the old Masters of the Universe Classics line, which is a Four Horsemen designed and sculpted toy line. And I just think they look so good together like that. That's kind of my dream team. PHEYDEN, who is the space traveler, with Zodak, who is a cosmic enforcer. And I always thought that, you know, these two guys would chill out in space. So, you know, and to me, the Eternians are always bigger than regular humans in my mind anyway. So that works out perfectly there. But anyway, this has just been my look at the Four Horsemen Studios X, I guess you'd say, Onell Design, Infinite Legions Space Traveler PHEYDEN figure. They came out with PHEYDEN. They had the Thanos, which was another character in the Glyos system stories, and they'll probably have more. I mean, you don't invest this much time and effort and tooling for figure making to not make more. So I would keep my eyes out. If you like this figure, keep your eyes on the Source Horsemen website. Follow them on Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if they have a Twitter or not, but I imagine they may. But I do know they have a Facebook, and they're very active on there. So keep an eye on that stuff. For the Glyos stuff, keep an eye on Onell Design's blog on their page there for future Glyos system figures coming out. There's always new stuff coming out from Matt. So what can I say? Great figure. A bunch of great guys involved in making these figures, which is one of the reasons why, you know, this PHEYDEN figure is it was a little pricey for me because I don't usually like spending a whole lot of money on toys. But every time I've bought a Four Horsemen figure, it's always been quality stuff. Fantastic paint, fantastic sculpts, the articulation is wonderful, and they have a lot of heart to them. So keep an eye on all of those different sources, and when you get a chance, grab one of these guys. Until the next time, Monster Forge out.